Hi everyone, welcome to the workshop today for effective communication tips to ace any job interview. I'm just going to give a few minutes for people to roll in, but before we officially get started, I'll just introduce myself. So my name is Narani. I work at the Canadian Marketing Association, of course, and I work on the DMSC team as a marketing manager. And so I'm really excited to have Brendan here today, who is an amazing communications coach. He has a lot of experience with coaching numerous clients, and also he's just has a great way of explaining how to communicate effectively with tangible tips. He has a great social media presence, so definitely invite you to check out his social media channels, which we'll include in the post webinar as well, because he shares a lot of great content there too. So we're excited to have you join us. Feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A chat as well. And I know there will be some interactive components too, which Brendan will guide you through. So feel free to chat. And if any questions come up, we'd love to hear it. So with that, I will pass it on to Brendan to introduce and get started.
Thanks so much, Naran. It's such a pleasure, team. Great to be here, everybody. If you're excited about today's workshop on effective communication tips to ace any job interview, go ahead and type ready in the chat. Go ahead and type ready in the chat if you are ready for it. Love it, Julianne. Thanks so much. Go ahead and type ready in the chat. I see Alice, Christine, Aniola, Jamie, Julianne, Karen, Leslie, Mike, Nikki, Lakshman, Rachel, Ramona, Shubhan, and Zoha. I love it. Love it, team. And while you're at it, go ahead and type your favorite flavor of ice cream. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Nikki, Jamie, Christine, Leslie, Ramona. Are you guys more like chocolate people, vanilla? Amazing. I see Lakshman's more vanilla. Eggnog, Leslie. You might have had a fun Christmas. Shubhan says chocolate. Ramona, pistachio. Love that. Karen, mint chocolate chip. Rachel, chocolate. Love that. Julianne, soft served vanilla all the way. Nikki's all about lime and pecan. That's an interesting flavor. I've never heard of that one before. So I might have to try that one. Thanks so much, team. So let's jump right into it. So you might be wondering, why is this slide on the screen? Very simple, because the number one rule of speaking is to get people's attention. So that was the only reason for that. So let's jump right into the first question that I want all of you to answer in the chat. When you think of the word public speaking, what are the first words that come to mind? In the chat, when you think of the words public speaking, what are the first words that come to mind? Don't overthink this too much. Just go ahead and take a few seconds. Love it, Karen. Karen says audience, presentation skills, Ramona. Nikki says capturing attention. Very good, Nikki. Everyone else, go ahead and type in the chat. What is your comfort? I love that, Jamie. A lot of positive words, because most of the time when I run a workshop like this on communication, most of the words I get are fear, stress, gross, no thanks, not today, bored, shivers, nerves, not really my thing. And the reason I tell you this is you might look at me, and thanks for that, Julianne, as well. You might look at me and think, oh my God, Brendan is like this superhero of communication. And this is me when I was 3 years old in Switzerland with my uncles, pretending to be a superhero. But the truth of the matter is, team, I was anything but a superhero speaking. I was born and raised in a city called Montreal that a lot of you know since you're all Canadians. And in Montreal, you know that you need to know how to speak French, which is a language I didn't know. So my whole life, not only was I scared of public speaking and communication, I had to present in a language I didn't even know. So imagine when I was in first grade, I would look at the audience and go, bonjour. And that was my life as a communicator. And then on top of that, when I was born, there was an accident during my birth. And that's why you'll notice that I have a physical disability in my left arm. It's a little crooked. So because of that, I was really self-conscious about my body and how I would give presentations, because people would always look at my arm and never really at my face whenever I would talk to them. And that stress made me hate communication. Forget about public speaking. I wanted to be anything but a communicator. And then you would think, okay, Brendan finally figured it out. He went to business school and he learned the art of presenting, right? Wrong. This is me, my first semester of uh, business school, and nobody told me that my tie was supposed to end at my belt. I clearly didn't get the message. That was a prom suit, by the way, that I got from Sears, that is now a bankrupt company. And I was presenting to the CEO of this organization, to the president of this company, when I was 19 years old. So I clearly had no idea what I was doing. And then you would think, okay, Brennan starts this YouTube channel in 2019 called MasterShot, takes off, he becomes this big celebrity in the communication space. He knew exactly what he was doing when he started posting videos, right? Wrong again. This is me in my mom's basement 6 years ago when I started this channel. I was an accounting major of all things, imagine. I struggled a lot speaking in a second language. And then when I started sharing ideas on YouTube, it wasn't about, oh, this is the idea. It was more just, oh, hi everyone, this is my idea. So I wasn't that great at communication, even if I was making communication videos for people. So why am I telling you this story to all the incredible people on this call today? I'm telling you this story because despite all the challenges that I had in my communication skills, I still became the communicator that I am today. Obviously, the YouTube channel's done a little bit better since, but really the point is, I want all of you to dream big. Dream big and everything that you're doing. All of you are dreaming big with your health, your relationships, your career. But how do we dream big in the context of our communication skills too? And I'll share mine. You know, my big dream is I think the next Oprah Winfrey is probably somebody who can't afford a communication coach. And that's why our mission at Master Talk is to help the world master the art of communication, create a society filled with powerful leaders and change makers. And that's why I love this picture so much because one of my friends, Raf, and he's teaching all of his kids. And yeah, he does have 5 kids. All of his kids through our free resources on how to speak. And that's really fun. So now I want all of you to answer this question in the chat. If we were all exceptional communicators, how would this benefit us and our teammates at work and in the job interviews that we're doing right now? Take 30 seconds and just answer this question in the chat. If we were exceptional communicators, how would this benefit us and our teammates at work? Take a few seconds, just think about it. Don't overthink it. Better coordination with clear expectations and guidelines. Gayatri, love that. Chief Ferreira, I'll just call you Ferreira, right? Better understanding, better output, right? Better collaboration. Gayatri Ramona says we understand each other better, be better listeners of what the others have to say. Totally agree, Ramona. Leslie goes, we'd be able to send the pocket of our true abilities. Really powerful. Nikki says no misunderstandings, right? Julianne says more efficiency, less tension between teammates, less time wasted, Karen. And I'll give you a couple more on top of this. Great job, team. Less confusion, more efficiency, more impact, less questions, less stress, right? Working together as a team, right, guys? More success, clarity equals power. It's going to be easy for us to help other people. And that's really the key. A lot of us, and this is the most important thing, because all of the lessons I'm going to share with you today are easy, practical, and efficient. They're easy, they're practical, and efficient. And they're simple, but nobody does them. Why? Because they have a negative mindset around speaking. Oh, I guess I have to present better at work, so I need to get better at this. Oh, I kind of need a job, right? So I guess I need to work on speak. The energy that we have around mastering communication is so negative versus if we want to learn salsa, right, little merengue, we're not going to that class. Yeah, sure, we might be scared the first few classes, but after we've done a little merengue for 6 months, we're not going like, oh my God, I need to go to this class again. No, it's like, wow, this is so cool. I get to practice dancing or learning the piano or some skill. I want us to bring that same energy, that same positivity to speaking. And that's how we grow. So before I jump into lesson number 1, I want you to type ready in the chat if you are ready for my first communication lesson. Love it, Sherry. Go ahead and type readies in the chat. Love it, Julianne, Leslie, playing full out. I love it. Love it, Jamie. Amazing, Karen. Enioli is ready in exclamation points. Ferrero is ready too. Ramona, Nikki, Suvan, amazing, amazing team. Emmanuel, let's go. Love it, Lakshman, ready. Great. And another piece too is I want you to have your phone next to you because obviously we're in webinar format today, but that doesn't mean you get off the hook. This is not like any other webinar you've been to. I'm literally presenting to you like all of you are right next to me, like I could talk to you. That's really my mindset when I go into these webinars. So when I ask you to do an exercise, I want you to do it. So that way you don't just leave this call with information You leave with practical insights on how to execute. That's the key. The way you get better at speaking is not by listening to me speak, because that's the only takeaway you get from this session is, wow, Brendan's a great communicator. Not the takeaway I want you to leave with. The takeaway I want you to leave with, thanks, Barbara and Sarab, is I want you to implement this stuff. So at the end of these 90 minutes that we have together, you're going to say, wow, okay, I took a lot of action today. I got a lot of results. And that's the key. Let's go to secret number 1. So one of the challenges that I had, I've been doing this for almost a decade now. And when I started in my career as a communications coach, as a comms professional, one of the challenges I had in my own journey to communication mastery was I don't really know where to get started. Do I start working on my ums and ahs? Do I start working on my articulation? Do I start working on my vocabulary? Do I have to open my eyes more? Do I have to smile more? What do I have to do? Listen better? It's so confusing. We don't really know where to start. Whereas when you're learning how to play piano, you just work on one song and you master that song until you're perfect. The steps are clear. If you want to be healthier, probably got to remove a little bit more sugar in your diet. But what does that look like in speaking? And I've spent my career trying to find what that is. And the answer is actually a lot simpler than it looks. It is what you see on the screen. This drill, I have coached $10 million CEOs on doing this and 5-year-old kids on doing this. And it works just as well. And it's called the random word exercise. The random word exercise. So what is the random word exercise? Very simple, team. All you do is you take any word that you want, like lip balm or pen or headphones or dental flossers. I use dental flossers a lot because everyone's too lazy to floss, including me. So I just use these flossers a lot easier. Battery pack. Pick a random word that's nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with your industry, and create a 60-second presentation out of thin air like magic. That is the first exercise to communication mastery. And this serves 2 purposes that I want you to write down for those of you taking notes. The first one is, and I'll repeat this twice, if you can make sense out of nonsense, you can make sense out of anything. I'll repeat that again. If you can make sense out of nonsense, you can make sense out of anything. So if you talk about potatoes for 60 seconds, well, when you go back into marketing, whether you're on the branding team, whether you're doing the data marketing analytics, whether you're doing ad analytics or running creative, whether you're on the agency side and you're developing creative for clients, whatever the role is, or you're an account manager, whatever your role is in the marketing department, you've been in that space for so long because most of you are mid to late stage professionals. Of course, some of you are early stage professionals, but a lot of you have at least 3 to 5 years of experience in your field. Meaning, if you can talk about pens for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, it's really easy for you to talk about marketing. So if we practice doing the harder thing, everything else becomes easier. That's use case number 1. Use case number 2 that I want you to write down on your piece of paper as well is it makes small talk a lot easier. I want you to type yes in the chat if you're somebody who struggles with small talk. Brendan, when I go to interviews or when I go to networking cocktails or when I go to events, love your quick yes in the chat, Julianne. I love your energy and how you're showing up on this call today. Great work. Right. And you're going like, Brent, I'm doing great work, but I don't want to go to my after social thing. I don't want to talk to people, or as we say in Montreal, le 5 à 7, right? I don't want to go to happy hours because I'm not happy being there, right? Love it, Sarab. Love it, iPhone. I'll just call you iPhone until you rename yourself Ramona, Aniola, Siobhan, right? That's the idea. But what is small talk at the end of the day? It's 2 people having an unprepared conversation. Let me repeat that again. It is 2 people having an unprepared conversation. That's what the random word exercise is, and that's what small talk is. It's like when I meet Ramona for coffee, we don't know what we're going to talk about in that coffee chat. Right? We have no idea. When me and Sarab are meeting together, we have no idea. When me and Julianne are having coffee, or Barbara, or Siobhan, or anyone else on this call, we have no idea. But if you practice the random word exercise and you can make sense out of nonsense, it's much easier for you to flow. It's much easier for you to flow in those conversations. Does that make sense, team? Hope it does. All right, here's what we're going to do now. Now it's time for us to take action. Let me demonstrate the exercise first. So now what I want all of you to do in the chat is I want all of you to type a random word, any word that you want. Could be potato, cactus, chicken nuggets, whatever you into. And the third word that is typed in the chat is the word that I will do the exercise on. Amazing. So we will do notepad. So you guys know I'm not cheating. All right. Watch carefully as I do this exercise. Notepad in 3, 2, 1, go. Ever since I was a kid, I used to take notes all the time. And in French, in the French education system where I'm from, we don't just learn how to write in general, A, B, C, D, all the way to Z, obviously, but we also learn how to work on cursive, or as we say in French, lettres attachées. So my handwriting is actually really good. And a lot of you remember this as kids when I was in first grade, like a lot of you when you were in elementary school and high school. There wasn't really computers back then. You would sit there with a notepad, you would sit there with the paper and just write out these cursives. And I remember coming home and my hands would just be shaking. They would hurt so much. And then later, as I grew up and I started investing in myself, going to personal growth conferences, learning from coaches, being coached on different areas of my life, I started realizing that the notepad wasn't that efficient for me. So I started taking notes on my phone so that every time I wanted to remember something from an event from 6 months ago or my Tony Robbins conference from 2 years ago, I could quickly go into my phone and have my own little virtual notepad and get all my notes together. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because in our life, we are so accustomed to the notepad in school, but we don't bring that notepad mindset, that notepad mentality in the way that we live our own life. When was the last time you took a step back into your life and you reflected on a notepad to just say, how's my life going? What are some changes that I could be making with my life? Because that notepad that you have is a lot more powerful than you think because it contains all the ideas, the dreams, and everything that you can do with your life. And that is what I'll challenge you, all 31 of you, 43 rather, on this call to do, which is to take out a notepad and start to really think about what are your dreams? What are your aspirations? Because if you do that more consistently, I believe that your life will be even more of a gift. That's the random word exercise, team. Take a word, create a random presentation out of thin air. So I know what you're thinking right now, so you don't need to tell me because I've ran this workshop enough times. Oh my God, Brendan, like, come on, dude, like, you're so good at this. Can anyone guess in the chat how many times I've practiced exercise? Let's see who's got the prices right today. Who can guess how many times, because I don't look like the oldest guy on the call. Right? So how many times do you think I've practiced the random word exercise in my career? Type in the chat what you think that number is. Olga is saying money's on Olga. The bet is at 1,000. Burrs 500, 1,500, 873. Yeah, try 3,000. 3,000. You don't just go to a gym, have a personal trainer go, Karen, I want you to do 10 push-ups then. Then Karen does 10 push-ups. The trainer doesn't go, Karen, congratulations. You don't have to do push-ups anymore for the rest of your life. No, right? The person goes, yeah, Karen, you have to come back into the gym tomorrow. And Olga, same thing. Gayatri, same thing. Lakshman, same thing. And you have to do 10 push-ups tomorrow. That's the game. And that's what I want all of you to do right now. So let's not overthink this. I don't want you to overthink this exercise. I want all of you to take out your phone right now. Normally, I would have all of you do this if you guys were just on a Zoom, but because we have a big crowd today, I want all of you to just take out your phones. Okay. You don't have to send this video to anybody. Okay. You don't have to share it with anyone. I just want you to practice the exercise right now because I guarantee you $1,000,000 that if you don't do it right now, you will never do the random word exercise for the rest of your life. And that's all you got to do. Take out your phone. And I just want you to record a video of yourself practicing the random word exercise. And your word is marketing. Very simple. Marketing starts in 3, 2, 1. Go for it, 2. 2 minutes starts now. Life is about taking action. So for those of you who are ready to take action today, I want you to take out your phone and just do the random word exercise on the word marketing. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about looking weird. Don't judge yourself. I just want you to do the exercise. Last 60 seconds. Then. And then whenever you're done, I want you to type done in the chat. 30 more seconds, Tim. And that is time. Great job. Give yourselves a big round of applause for doing the random word exercise. So for those of you who did the exercise in the call, I'd love to hear from all of you in the chat, maybe 2 or 3 of you in the chat. What did you get from doing the exercise the first time? By the way, Shiba, I want to give you a big shout out for doing it. That is really powerful. You know, action, it rewards the brave, right? So great job, Saurabh. Really proud of you for doing it as well. Tell me more in the chat, team. It was hard, it was challenging. What was challenging about it? And everyone else did thinking, yeah, absolutely. I think I was not making sense, but I kept going. Let's give it up for Shubhan, everybody. I love action takers. You're all playing full out, and that's how you get a lot of value from this workshop. No fear of judgment. Great job, Gayatri. Overthinking what to say. Great job, iPhone. I would call you by your name, but yeah, iPhone, really proud of you. You know, the iPhones are showing up today. Yeah, I agree. You have to learn to be comfortable being put on the spot. It forces you to build confidence in yourself. Absolutely, Julianne. Super proud of you for doing the exercise as well. Great job. And that's the thing, right, team? And that's really what I've brought to the industry is like, you know, a lot of my colleagues in this space, they leave communication in theory, and that's not how we get jobs at big companies. You know, if we want to make $300,000 a year, we got to act like a $300,000 person, right? That's really the game, and we do it by taking action. I love it, Leslie. At first I sucked, but then I got going. Did okay. Great job on taking action. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. Ramon, I felt as the time was short, so I spoke very fast, so it doesn't make sense. All good. I'm super proud of you taking action, Ramona. Nikki, lots of filler words for me. Ums and likes. Great recognition, Nikki. Karen, I have to explain all the time what I do for a living, so talk about marketing seemed easy. Yeah, I kept it easy for the first one, Karen. Guys, this is pushing me to think about the topic. So next time some relevant topic or a question comes up, I will already have pointers to talk about in a real world situation. Let's get for Gayatri. What a fantastic insight. My confidence built over time. Really powerful. So here's a small reflection for all of you. I'm going to be spending 30 minutes on each section. So we have around 10 minutes left on this one. So let's stick here for a while. What if you did the exercise once a day? What if you did the exercise 5 times a day? How much more confident would you be? Because a lot of you are looking at me and you're thinking, oh my God, 3,000 is such a big number. Honestly, I'm pretty lazy for a communication coach who has coached probably 10,000, maybe I guess if you count my following on social, maybe hundreds of thousands of people to do this exercise. But the reality is me doing it 3,000 times is not a lot. Why is that? Let's do the math. If you do the random word exercise 10 times a day, what does that take? 15 minutes in a day? If you do that for a year, that's 3,650 times. So you get it really done. Does explaining to my kids constantly you stay count? Not quite. But speaking about, yes, Gayatri, I love your positivity. You're thinking in the right direction. You and Karen especially, and Subhan. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Subhan that's exactly right. You three. It's do this with your children. For those of you who have kids who are at least like 4 or 5 years old, if they're older, even better, do this with them. It's so much more fun. And what a client of mine who's a big executive at IBM, he once told me, you know, Brendan, you really helped change my family's life. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about because I don't really have kids yet. So I said, dude, what do you mean? And he's like, you know, Brendan, I have this 9-year-old daughter and she's in theater and I just don't know what to talk to her about because I don't know theater that much. So she's always on sitting on the TV. She's there, but I don't really know how to talk to her or how to have a conversation with her. But once you brought up this game, this random word exercise game, I started doing it with my daughter. And we have a better bond than ever before. And I thought that was really beautiful because a lot of us, when we think about communication, we always focus on the stress, the overthinking. And that's because of the education system, by the way, which I won't rant on too much today. But really, the point is that when we make communication more like a game, more fun, and we do 100 of these bad boys, well, then we get really good at communication. So I want to give all of you a big round of applause for taking action once again on that. So let me just go ahead and keep going with this, but great points. So what are the 3 benefits of the random word exercise? It removes absolutely stress. What about a word you don't know? I'll answer Q&A mostly at the end, but I'll just answer this really quick because it's relevant to what I'm teaching right now. The key is, the next word has to be a word you don't know. That's the key, right? So start easy, Saurabh. That's the key. That's why I started with marketing, because they're all marketing professionals. If I was talking to plumbers, I would have given you the word plumbing, right? But then as you get better at communication, obviously I want you to do battery pack. Obviously, I want you to do flossers. Obviously, I want you to do something a lot harder. So that way it just builds up your confidence. And at some point when you get really good at this, like hopefully you guys think I'm really good at this, I've gotten to a place where now clients will give me words I don't even understand. So I'll quickly Google it, obviously, to see what the dictionary definition of the word is, and I'll just do the random word exercise. Because really what this exercise does is it removes all the fear, or a lot of the fear you were ever on speaking, because it's a mindset change. You go from, oh, I just talked about turnips. Of course I know how to present this marketing proposal to my boss. I've done it 57 times. It's not hard. So it changes and it removes your anxiety. The second piece, it's super easy to practice. That's another problem with this industry is there's not really easy things to practice in communication. Whereas this is actually very easy to practice. It's my easiest exercise. I have things that are much harder than this, but this is a great starting point. This is your version of the push-up. Do 10 push-ups a day, 5 push-ups a day. Even 1 is okay. Even if it's on your knees, just doing 1 is okay. That's what the version of this is. Just do it a lot, and I guarantee you will be more confident around. Number 3 is impromptu speaking at work will rarely worry you because of industry expertise. You're all amazing marketing professionals. You're all very successful in your field already. So when you go back to the field, it's easy. You'll crush, and that's the game. So before we go to exercise 2, I'd love to hear from everyone in the chat. What was your biggest takeaway from section number 1 in today's training? Go ahead and type in the chat, like, what is a big takeaway you've gotten so far as I read out some of the shared? It could just be the exercise. Maybe it's something you learned about yourself while you're doing the random word exercise. Maybe it was through my personal story. Maybe something inspired you. Go ahead and take 30 seconds and just type in the chat. What was the biggest? Yeah, Suvan, I love it. Very Nike, right? It's all about just doing it. Just do the X. That's really the idea. And then I would encourage all of you to keep that. Talking about nonsense can make sense. Absolutely, Ramona. That it can get better, Nikki. Very well done. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll give 10 more seconds if anyone else wants to share in the chat. What else is resonating with you? There's no wrong answer, by the way, team. Every answer is great. Whatever is coming to you, just share it openly in the chat. Self-awareness. I love that, Saurabh, right? It helps you become self-aware just around your mindset, your thoughts, but also, oh, I didn't realize that I said a lot of ums and ahs. I need to work on my confidence. All good, Julian. You already took that first step, that first powerful step today. So great job. Leslie, practice frequency to practice is so important. Absolutely, Leslie. I totally agree. The power of preparation, Hussein. Really well said. Great job, team. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Very good. All right, now let's go to section number 2, mastering the job interview. So of course, I could spend 5 hours today talking about just job entering, how to ace that, how we crush these placements and stuff for people. But really to keep it simple today, because I'm all about simplicity, because simplicity is what scales. So now you're leaving this workshop already thinking, okay, I got to do the random word exercise. And my goal is to only give you 3 of these insights. So that way you have 3 things to practice. So the next time you hear me speak, you can say, hey, I practiced these 3 things. These are the results I got. Or this is what happened that was a blocker or a challenge. So I'm just going to ask you this simple question. What is the most common job interview question in the world, team? All of you should know the question. Julianne, I just love how quick you are to the keyboard. Really good job. You're really paying attention and it shows. So great, great work. I agree. Everybody else, I want you to type exactly what Julianne typed in the chat because you should all realize by now in your career that tell me about yourself is the most common, great job, Gayatri Leslie, is the most common question you will get asked. Doesn't matter what level you are in an organization. Thanks, Joyce and great to see you, and Jamie. Doesn't matter what level you are in an organization. It is all about tell me about yourself. Whether you're applying for a marketing analytics role at the entry level, or oh, don't worry, guys, I have all those answers. Or you're applying to be the chief marketing officer at an organization, they're asking about yourself in your career. You're always going to be asked this question. And this is, in my opinion, I'm going to say something very controversial. Let's say there was a 100-point scale on your interview performance. 33% I would allocate to this one question. Bold statement, right? I am making the case that 33% of whether or not somebody hires you or not is determined on this one question. Why is that? Very simple. Because human beings are biased. You all know this, you're marketers. We learn the psychology of human beings. That is the sport that you're in. Understanding consumer behavior, understanding the psychology of a human being, and then maybe exploiting is the wrong word, but leveraging that psychology so that we can sell our products, services, and opportunities to those people. Doesn't matter what you're selling. That's what marketing is at a fundamental level. Well, guess what? You, of all people who know this best, human beings are biased. Human beings have their own version of psychology, and human beings are hiring other human beings. So what does that mean? That means first impressions count. It means first impressions count. If I get into a job interview, then I go, tell me about yourself, and you're going, oh, my name is Brendan, and yeah, I'm really excited about I don't care what you say for the rest of the interview. I'm not paying attention to everything else because I've already made a decision on your candidacy. But the opposite is also true, which is called the halo effect that was coined by Edward Thorndike, which is if somebody ascribes a positive characteristic to you, a positive trait to you, they'll believe the opposite. So if you start your intro and you go, it's great to be here. My name is Brendan Kumar Salman. Yeah, for the past 15 years, I've been a marketing professional and I've really enjoyed my career. And you start talking like that, they're going to make positive assumptions about you for the rest of the interview. So if you start making mistakes, they'll go, oh, it's okay. Brendan's just having an off day. Oh, it's fine. Jamie's perfect. She's fine for this role. It's okay that she made a couple of mistakes in the interview. But if you screw up, tell me about yourself, the rest of your interview is jeopardized. So the reason I'm saying this is because I want all of your prep work, all of your practice to start here. That's where the game begins. But not to fear, team. I obviously have the framework and we're obviously going to practice this. Tell me about yourself. So obviously the key is, because I want you to see the before and after. So in the same way I had you take action on doing the random word exercise, I want you to deliver the best shot right now. So I want all of you to take 2 minutes. I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock. Okay, we're not going to make a video just yet. We're going to take 2 minutes on the clock. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here. And actually, let me not start the timer right now. So let me take 2 minutes, and I want all of you to just imagine, what is your dream role right now? What is your dream role right now? Actually, you know what? Why don't we get everyone to type that in the chat? I want all of you to take 30 seconds right now and just type in the chat, what is your dream role? I'll just give you all of you a few seconds to just type your dream role. Is it to be a marketing manager? Is it to be a senior manager of marketing? Is it to go into agency? Is it to work for a specific brand or industry? What is your dream role? Take 30 seconds and just write that in the chat. Love this. Thanks so much, DA. Chief People Officer, Chief Experience Officer, lead a global marketing team for a tech alliance. Lakshman, and thanks for that. Gayatri says digital growth marketing head with a company that is making positive impact in the world. VP marketing, CMO for anything to do with pets. So cool, Karen. I love that. Something in marketing strategy, new grad here, so want to take a chance to get started. I love that, Julianne. By the way, you have a really good attitude, great mindset. You're going to do great in the industry. I can already tell. Right? Marketing, PR at a health agency, Gobin, lifecycle marketing manager, brand manager, CPG Sherry. Ade Damola says communications manager, health tech. Srab, ABM strategist, head up of marketing. Great. Great job. And women's health, Leslie, very powerful. And Ramona around tech companies, VP Cosmetics. Nikki, love it. But now that you have your dream role in mind, I want all of you to take 2 minutes now, start the timer now. And for 2 minutes, I just want you to write what would you say and tell me about yourself without any coaching from me. Just curious how you would approach that right now, because a lot of you are job interviews. So let me start the timer here. Take 2 minutes. You're not making any videos, just take 2 minutes, put a little bit of music on. And I want all of you to just reflect on what your answer to tell me about yourself would be. Can somebody confirm in the chat that you can hear this? Okay, thanks, Maz. All right, team. 2 minutes starts now. Go for it. "60 seconds left, team. Let's do 10 more seconds. And time. Great job on writing your best version of Tell Me About Yourself. So now all of you know what to do next. Take out your phones. And now I want you to open your camera. And then in the next few seconds, I just want you to either read Tell Me About Yourself if you're a little uncomfortable with video. Once again, you're not sharing this video with anyone. This is just for you. And or if you're comfortable already, you can just open the video and just do Tell Me About Yourself without reading. So whichever version works for you, I'll give all of you 2 minutes to do that right now. Your 2 minutes starts now. Go for it. Right, practice Tell Me About Yourself on video. Remember, team, communication is all about taking action. So take out your phone and keep presenting Tell Me About Yourself imperfectly. last minute. Last 20 seconds, Tim. And time. Give yourselves a big round of applause for taking another big action. So now I'd love to hear from all of you in the chat before I get to my framework and all of that. Go ahead and type in the chat. How did it feel doing Tell Me About Yourself in video? Love to hear more. Go ahead and type in the chat. How did that feel for you? There's no wrong answer. Lost. Thanks for saying Saurabh so honestly and openly. I really appreciate that. You know, that's really why I created this workshop. You know, speaking on your point, I'd love for everyone to share as I'm talking too, is I feel like a lot of interview prep is not really focused on you taking action. Because at the end of the day, the way you get better at Tell Me About Yourself is by practicing. Yes, it's very strange. It's all about practicing it a lot. Karen says, very strange talking to myself about myself. It's a very strange feeling. I totally agree, Karen. But you know, my mentality, my philosophy as a coach, and I want all of you to ingrain this into your mind, because that is really the methodology that I'm coaching you from. It's really about doing the harder thing. Hey, if you could do Tell Me About Yourself perfectly alone in your basement on video with nobody else around you, and you're fully practiced doing Tell Me About Yourself on the spot. Because you know how these recruitment cycles work. Sometimes you get a call and it says, hey, the interview's next week, but you didn't prep. Whereas now you have an opportunity to keep prepping consistently. Very good. Very strange talking to myself about myself, challenging to deliver as well as it sounded in my head writing it. Thanks, Shal. I really appreciate it. Leslie felt better than the random question. I can see the value of doing this very regular. I'm so glad to hear that, Leslie. Right? It's 33% of your weight, in my opinion. Everyone's going to disagree with me, but I really believe Tell Me About Yourself is a third of the decision of a hiring manager. And we'll talk about the other 2/3 later in today's call. Hussein, practice makes perfect. Julianne says it makes me feel excited about opportunities to work in the field. Made me think about my purpose in marketing, why I love marketing. I just really like your mindset. I don't have to compliment you a lot, Julianne, but I just really like your mindset and positivity. That goes a long way. You'd be surprised how many VPs of marketings and CMOs I've met in my career who don't have the mindset that you do. So very good. Guy, this says, I didn't have the contents even for a minute. I never thought so carefully about this question holistically since I was always focused on JD for each interview. This pushed me to think beyond that. That's a great point you're bringing up that I just want to comment on really quickly. Whenever I'm coaching my executive clients, my mindset, my mentality is always, you should always have a generalized answer for any Tell Me About Yourself opportunity. The reason is because if you're customizing 80, 90%, you have 10 interviews, it's going to be really hard for you to manage all 10. Whereas if you have a standardized version, because at the end of the day, your experience is the same. Like if you're a brand manager at Procter and Gamble, you probably want to be a brand manager or senior brand manager at some other company, right? So when you're talking about your experience, you're not just going to switch your experience every time you do Tell Me About Yourself. So it's not a bad idea to have a generalized version. I'm going to teach you how to do that today. So rest assured, I just wanted all of you to see the before and after. Ramona says I did a video of this kind this week, so I was exercising again. Wow, Ramona, I don't really see a lot of people doing this without me pushing them to, so that's great, Ramona. It was kind of fun watching myself making faces to myself. I love it, Chase. I want to say more or go in depth, like do what I do say. Very good. And I'll give you all the advice. The advice is do it with each other. Do it with each other. That's really the point. Like Julianne, do it with Nikki. Joyce, do it with Ramona. You don't actually have to do this alone. But really, my mindset is always, how do I coach you in a way where you have no excuse to do it? That's really the starting point. But when I was in college back in the day, a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago at this point, and I was doing college and I wanted to work at IBM or at a big company, I would actually prepare these questions all the time with my roommates, right? The people that I would go to school with. So when I would go into interviews, we would just crush every other candidate because I would just practice all of this. So don't be shy to make friends with each other in the CMA community, because especially the people who are commenting actively, like Joyce and Ramona and Gayatri and Julian, you're all demonstrating that you're people who are taking action and really doing it. Those are the people you want to be partnered up with because all of you will get offers. I don't really believe in competition that much. If you're the best candidates and you all work together, you'll all get offers, right? There's more than 10 marketing jobs in Canada, right? Last time I checked. So working together always helps. All right. So if you're ready for my tell me about yourself framework, I want you to type ready in the chat. Because if I don't see any readies in the chat, I'm just not going to share my tell me about yourself secret sauce on how to answer this perfectly. Love that, Julianne, Karen, Lakshman, Gayatri, Arushi, great to see you. Charles Eric, love it. Ramona, Sherry, Jamie, amazing. Let's jump into it. So that's a framework I refined over and over again. And like Gayatri was saying, obviously you want to customize some of it to the specific job description that you're applying for. But really, I would say even my generalized version has beaten a lot of people's customized version because they just don't have the complete picture. I call this exercise 1-3-1. 1-3-1. That's it. So take out a piece of paper and just write this down with me. Obviously, you'll have access to the recording, but chances you watch the recording after this. Those of you watching the recording right now, I want to say hi to you. Welcome you to the workshop. But for everyone else, like take the notes and implement it. 1-3-1. 1. Always start with an acknowledgement, a name, and the years of experience and passion as to why you're in the industry. And don't worry, I'll provide examples today as to how to do this. I just don't have enough time to review all of your tell me about yourself. So I'm giving you a generalized. I'll give you a client example for my client base, and then we could practice this and you could see the before and after. 3, talk about up to 3 key accomplishments. It doesn't necessarily have to be 3. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3. It really depends on the specific role that you're applying for. So I'll give you a couple of examples in marketing that I've seen in my career. So if you're applying for an agency role, say like I know VaynerMedia just opened an office in Toronto recently, right? So they're probably looking for people, right? Ogilvy and Matter, right? McCann. So these types of agencies, if you're doing agency work, you know this better than me. It probably makes sense for you to talk about 2 to 3 client accounts and tell me about yourself, or industry specific ones that are related to the field. So obviously, if Vayner's client is American Airlines, as an example, and you've done branding work for Southwest, for Air Canada, for WestJet, yeah, it does make sense for you to list as many of those brands as possible from an agency perspective. But on the offside, let's say you're doing brand management work in a corporation and you're working for Procter and Gamble. So Procter and Gamble is just focused on one vertical, one industry vertical. So, and let's say you worked at a competitor. You probably just want to focus on one accomplishment and go really, really, really deep on how your specific deep industry expertise applies to Procter and Gamble and why this is the next step. So there's different ways of approaching this problem. There's not really a right answer, but I would say my general framework, I think, will really help elevate what you're all doing right now in the market. So number 1 is to acknowledge them, years of experience, number of years in the industry, a little story on why you're in it. Number 3 is whenever possible, you want to find key accomplishments that are most related to the job you're applying for. And the third piece of 1-3-1, which is 1, tie it back to the company. This is a big mistake a lot of my clients make. They do not tie it back to the company. They wait, they play defense. They wait for the employer to ask them, so Jamie, why do you want to work here? Hey Joyce, why are you interested in this role? Ramona, why do you want to be a part of this? Instead of proactively playing offense, right? So that's why at the end of tell me about yourself, I always tell people to say, absolutely, guys. There'll be examples, but great question. So an example of this could be at the end when I think about the next step of my career. I got really interested in working at Netflix for a few reasons. Number 1, I'm really a fan of the product. I use Netflix all the time, of course. But joking aside, I'm really impressed by what the marketing team at Netflix has been able to accomplish over the last few years, especially in the context of how you've promoted Netflix original shows like Squid Game and Pretty Little Liars. I just really appreciated the approach that the marketing team has taken. I just feel I can add a lot of value to this organization with a lot of the experience I already have in the entertainment industry, working for Hulu and a couple of other brands. This just gives I just BS something really quick. But you get an idea. Notice how, like, when you end your tell me about yourself, proactively saying why this is the next step in your journey, from a psychological perspective, the employer is already imagining you in the business. When, Gayatri mentioned that, you know what? She's making a lot of sense, actually. I feel like this is the right, perfect role for her. And they're already convincing themselves of that idea. So my tell me about yourself framework is very trippy. It's really engineered in a way that gets people to go like, oh, you know what? I actually do see Sherry in that role. Yeah, it does. It does make sense why Nike is the next step in her journey. I don't need to ask her that. She's already shown me that. And that's the game. That's 1-3-1. So 1 is acknowledge and talk about years of experience. 3 is talk about up to 3 key accomplishments that are most related to the job. And 1 is to tie it back to the company, explain why this role is perfect for you. Let's go through some examples now. Because I know this is a little bit more heavy content. That's why I start the random word exercise to get all of you excited. So I want all of you to pay attention, okay? So this is just an example of a 1, like how you could start to tell me about yourself. So let me just demonstrate this really quick. Hey, it's great to be here, John. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Carter, and I'm a senior technology leader with over 20 years of experience specializing in commercialized systems, did digital transformations within the biotech space. At Pfizer, as an executive director of business systems, I've led the technology strategies to support 4 commercial product launches that I'm really proud of. And I really love working in biotech because I know that we can leverage technology to help the organizations bring meaningful treatments to our patients. So this is a great example of how you can start. So obviously a marketing example would be like, I'm a senior brand manager with 7 years of experience, specializing in branding for the airplane industry at American Airlines. It's the same idea, right? But really that's the key. So what I want all of you to do now, I'll give you around 60 seconds, 60 seconds to do this. I want you to quickly write your version of 1-3-1, just for the 1. So you see this paragraph now as an example. I want all of you to take your pen right now or your paper, and I just want you to quickly write some of these words. Obviously, switch Carter's name for your name, switch my senior technology leader for your title, senior branding manager, senior agency. So I'll just create space for all of you to just do that really quick. 60 seconds starts now. Go for it. Just put a little timer on my phone. And you can just use this as an example. And then after the 60 seconds, I'll address Gayatri's question directly. 30 more seconds still. Last 10 seconds. Last couple of seconds and time. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Great job. You don't have to make a video, just have that, and then you have a little template here. So obviously I could spend 3 hours just on how to answer this question, but I really want to give you an overview. So how you want to practice this, team, just so we're clear on the coaching. You start by doing the random word exercise 100 times. That's really the first step. The second step is you don't even practice all of tell me about yourself. Your foot, whoops, I just moved that a little fast. Next is to go through each part. So now it's like, you're not even practicing the whole answer. That's how meticulous I am. You're just practicing the first paragraph, and you're practicing that first paragraph 10 times, which only takes 10 minutes, by the way. This is not a lot of work that I'm asking you to do, especially for those of you who are applying for 200K jobs, 300K jobs. You got to put 200K worth of effort to get a 200K job, right? That's the game. 1 paragraph at a time. Do that 1 paragraph perfectly. And as a bonus for attending this workshop, if you're really keen, you could add me on LinkedIn. I'll just give that as a gift for you. You could send me your paragraph and a voice note of you practicing it. And I will give you feedback for free. That's just a gift because I like people who take action. That's really the game. Then after that paragraph is perfect, then you go to the next paragraph and then the next paragraph. And that's how you win. That's the game. Okay. Let's go to Gayatri's question. Can you please elaborate on acknowledgement? Absolutely, Gayatri. So all that means is notice how the start of my tell me about yourself is just great to be here, great to see you. I see so many executives make this mistake in interviews where they jump into an interview and the interviewer is like really cold and is going, yeah, so tell me a little bit more about yourself. And then you just go, my name is this. You match their energy. That's wrong. And instead, what you want to do is, it's great to see you, Daniel. Happy to talk more about myself. So notice how I have a very friendly demeanor, and this really lowers the employer's guard. So that's why it's really important. And tell me about yourself to start with a little bit of sprinkling on the acknowledgement. You don't need to talk about their dog for 15 minutes. Just add, it's great to be here. It's great to see you. And then you jump in with a smile, a little smirk on your face. That's it. All right. So if you're excited to see an example of not a perfect, no, because there's no perfect in my world, right? I would say the 8.5 out of 10 and 8.7 out of 10. I want you to type ready in the chat if you want to watch this example with me. If not, I will skip it. If not, I will skip it. Amazing. I see a lot of yeses in the chat, readies in the chat. Love it, DA, Leslie, Ramona, Gayatri, Karen, Lakshman, Hussein, Nikki. Very good. Teddy, you're like Teddy ready. Good. All right, so this is just a client example that I'll show you on how to answer, tell me about yourself. It's not perfect, right? There's never perfect in job interviewing. There's a couple of things you could have done a little bit better, but this is probably like one of the best examples I've seen in my career. And I want all of you, as you're listening to this video, it's a 4-minute video. I want all of you to watch this video and notice 131. Okay, this is the acknowledgement at the beginning. He did it in his own way. He didn't follow it exactly the way I teach it. He did his own style. That's fine. Then you notice how you talk about his accomplishments. But then the most important part that all of you don't have and tell me about yourself, that this guy nails. Saurabh just absolutely nails this part, is why he believes this company is the next step. And here's the punchline. This thing that he practiced, he works there now. He's an IT director. They've been trying to look for a candidate for a year and they just hired him and just gave him a huge salary bump. So the answer led to a job. So that's another important point that I will add. Let us watch in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do this one more time. Hey, Saurabh, hey, thanks. First of all, thank you so much for driving all the way from Pittsburgh to Erie. Really appreciate you taking 2 hours to be here today and you spending the day with our team. A lot of us are really excited to meet you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Love to hear more.
Absolutely, Brendan. So first of all, it's great to be here and thanks for having me. Over the last 6 years in my leadership role at FedEx, I had an absolutely fantastic journey in terms of driving the digital transformation, building high-performing teams, and delivering technology products at scale. I'm really super proud of what my team and I accomplished so far. So I would like to highlight 3 key achievements. Number 1, with my strategic leadership, I set North Star vision for delivering technology products at scale. And also I worked closely with my team members, collaborated across the organization, and then delivered some of the strategic initiatives that's bringing multi-million-dollar savings and revenue. Number 2, I built high-performing teams by setting the bar high for engineering excellence and set up KPIs to improve the engineering effectiveness. And also I provided talent development opportunities for my team members to realize their potential and move up in their career. I'm consecutively rated as one of the top senior engineering managers across FedEx in the last 4 years. And then number 3, recently I led a One FedEx transformation representing FedEx ground entity by collaborating across the organization and identified more than $1 billion savings opportunity through application consolidation and IT modernization. So I'm really proud of what I have done so far at FedEx. In terms of looking at my next opportunity, I'm looking for a leadership role where I can lead a bigger teams, bigger initiatives, and bigger budgets because I want to make a bigger impact. So this director IT opportunity at Erie Insurance is really appealing to me for a few reasons. Number 1, so based on my research and listening to the last few earnings calls, I identified that Erie Insurance is actively modernizing the digital platform, migrating to cloud to elevate the customer experience and also improving efficiency and reducing cost. To be specific, for example, recently we rolled out a feature that enables our agents to do the rentals by themselves. So that streamlines the processes and improving the productivity. Next, in terms of innovation, we have a huge opportunity in front of us to tap the power of data and AI/ML in order to roll out new features like giving a personalized recommendation for our insurance recommendation for our agents, and also we can detect the frauds proactively. So these are some of the opportunities in front of us with the digital transformation. Number two, not only the transformation, how can we scale it further, right? I know Erie is one of the largest insurance companies with the 7 million policies in force and the 12th largest home and auto insurance with the 90% of our customers are retained year over year. So scaling the transformation is going to impact millions and millions of Americans' life. That's something appealing to me. And then number three, building high performing culture, which is something I'm really passionate about. So recently I read an article from our CIO Srini Partha in CIO.com, and he talked about some of the talent development opportunities he introduced and also IT framework. So that really shows the commitment the senior leadership is showing in order to build the culture and build the high performing teams. So bringing it all together, my leadership experience and technical expertise and passion for delivering technology products at scale really makes me a great fit for this role. I'm happy to deep dive in any of the aspects what I mentioned so far.
Let's get it for Saurabh, everybody. Oh, that's another question. Let's get it for Saurabh, everybody. Amazing. What did everyone think in the chat? Go ahead and type your thoughts in the chat on his application of 131. Love it, Gaitar. I'm super glad that you enjoyed it. Everyone else take 30 seconds and just reflect on. Very good. Amazing. And while everyone's typing the chat, I'll just break this down a little bit more for the team. So number one, obviously acknowledgement. He went through his experience really well. He went through his key accomplishments, but really exactly, Barbara. But yes, that was the thing that I commented on. But honestly, Ramona, it didn't really matter because he ended up getting the job. So it's just, it doesn't really matter. But the point is for the last piece, that's really where Saurabh stood out in the last part of 131. Notice how much homework this guy did on Erie. He went through the earnings calls because it's a publicly traded company. How many of you have went through your company's earnings calls that are public that you've interviewed for? Not many executives I've been in my career. That's one. Two, he's done a lot of article research on the different people. And number three, he's done his homework. Like he's really specific, and he doesn't, like a lot of you ask. I don't want to be too abrasive here, but a lot of you don't ask really good questions. Let's leave it at that. You don't ask a lot of great questions at the end of the interview. You'll say like, "What's the biggest challenge that your organization is facing right now?" That is such an entry level question. You're an executive. You're applying for a VP level position. Act like a VP. So instead, you should bring things to the table. Based on my research and doing a little bit of homework on the organization, I noticed that one of the initiatives you're working right now that started in March of 2024 was X. How is that initiative going, by the way? And speaking on that, what would be the scope of work for this specific role? So let's say you're bringing things to the table instead of just going like, "Oh yeah, so what do you guys need?" Like that's just not. It's very lazy asking questions, right? So I want all of us to level that up. But really, the point is, and a lot of you are typing a lot of great things in the chat, right? Very intentional about his response, right? It's great, right? Yeah, I would say Nikki in this case, he went for 335. I would say 3 minutes would be the benchmark that I've seen across my C-level that has worked really well. But here's the punchline, and let me counter this a little bit, team. Okay, if you have a 7-minute tell me about yourself, sure. I think we can argue that it's long. I've coached 150 people on this team. I'm giving you real data. There hasn't been one feedback from an employer saying, "Tell me about yourself" is too long. Not one. I've never gotten that feedback once. Why is that? Because if you're well prepared and you're talking and what you're talking, what's coming out of your mouth is good, they want you to keep talking. See, there's a bigger problem than something being too long, by the way. And that problem is being nonsensical and boring. That's the problem, right? The problem is not that something is too long, unless it's like 6 minutes. The problem is more about saying like, okay, what this person is saying is not relevant to the organization. But if what you're sharing is relevant and you're bringing a lot of interesting points, if you go 30 seconds over, the employer won't mind. That's really the key. All right, great job, team. Give yourselves a big round of applause for going through. Tell me about yourself, and that's 131. So what I'm going to do now, and then I'll go to the last exercise today. I'm just going to give a tip for those of you who are 10 out of 10 achievers, for those of you who are typing in the chat that I really appreciate, super fun, is I'll challenge you to do this after the workshop is over. I'll probably go for 15 more minutes so I can leave 10 minutes for Q&A. But I want all of you at the end of this workshop to go through your first video. and reflect on some of the areas that you felt Saurav did a little bit better to improve your version. So the more self-awareness you have, the faster you grow. So, and I get people do this all the time where they watch their first video, and a lot of you have already made it, so great job. And then you listen to this version that you just did, and obviously it's recorded, so you can always watch the recording and re-listen to this version as many times as you want. And you can just go like, okay, what is Saurav? Okay, I might not like everything Saurav is doing, but what is 2 or 3 things that Saurav is doing that I'm not doing in my Tell Me About Yourself? Ah, that's where the magic comes in. And then you add those pieces, and then your version gets better. By the way, that version, just so you all know how the hard worker that guy is, that's probably version 28 or 30. I want all of you to hear this. 28 or 30. How many candidates are you competing against in the market right now who are willing to practice Tell Me About Yourself 28 times? Honestly, my experience is almost no one. It's virtually nobody. So if you're the person who puts in that effort, you will stand out. Great job. So before we go to the final section of today's presentation, I want all of you to take 60 seconds in the chat and just reflect on what was the biggest insight you got from Tell Me About Yourself and job interviewing in general. What stood out to you? Love to hear more in the chat, and I will be more than happy to share and participate with all of you. Go ahead and take 60 seconds too. Type in the chat what resonated with you from section number 2. Standardization relevance. Love that, Govind. Ramona tied back to the company. I think this is very important. Absolutely, Ramona. Great memory there. The framework 131. Love that straw. The importance of practice and preparation. Leslie, very good. Being proactive. Love that. Karen, do your research and practice, revise and practice again. Really good. Guide 3. A good format for framework. Importance of acknowledgement, the research and homework and required for each interview, and painting a picture of yourself in that position for the interviewer. Barbara, prep and relevance. Another thing I'll point out, team, I always like to tell people this, so don't be too worried. If you even do 10% of what I'm coaching you to do today, you'll still stand out. Like, even if you do 131 and at the end you didn't do that much homework and you're just a little bit general, but you go like, this is why I feel, this is the next piece, this is the next step in my career, and you give a little bit more thoughts on that, you're still going to stand out because nobody does that in Tell Me About Yourself. Nobody does that. And that's really cool. Love that, Nikita. Right, the last bit that resonated with you for tying you back to the company. Amazing. Hussein says positive tone of voice. Absolutely. And Joyce says researching the company is key. Really good. All right, team. If you are ready for the final section of today's presentation, go ahead and type ready in the chat, and we will go to the final section of this presentation. Keep bringing more energy. We only have 20 minutes left to this call. Love it. A lot of the readies are coming. Cornelius, love it. Karen, who said everyone's getting excited now. Like, what does Brendan have up his sleeve for his last one? All right. Last one, it's going to be really hard for me to coach you on this in 10, 15 minutes, but I'll do my best because I just want to plant that seed for all of you, which is asking questions at the end of an interview. So remember we were talking about human psychology, right? People remember the first impression that we leave them. Well, the same is true with the last impression. The same is true with the last impression. People will remember the first impression of you and the last moment with you in that job interview. The middle, yeah, they'll remember some of it. You still have to work on the middle and you still have to crush the middle. But the easiest 2 areas of a job interview process that are the highest ROI for time and effort is the beginning and the end. And not enough people talk about the end, which is how to ask fantastic questions. And this is IP that I've built over the years that I just want to give some examples of how to ask ridiculously amazing questions at the end of a job interview process that makes people turn heads. And it's not, so what are the next steps to the job interview process? Oh, like, what am I looking forward to hearing back? Not the right question. What is the biggest challenge around this role? And if you're applying for an executive level role, you should already know what the biggest challenge of this role, and you should ask me more deeper questions around those challenges, right? That's really the key. You want to ask questions that help you stand out. So these 3 questions I've just pulled from my database of just examples of how I coach people to ask really good questions. And if we have time, I'd love to do some examples with all of you. But really, my 3 favorite ones are the earnings call question, the podcast question, and the LinkedIn question. Let's jump into these examples. Let's start with the earnings call question. You can only do this question if a company is publicly traded. So if you're interviewing for Goldman Sachs, like Saurav was interviewing for Erie Insurance, is a publicly traded company. So obviously they have earnings calls come out. And then what you do is whatever your department is, in this case it was technology, but for you'll be marketing, you'll listen to the earnings call with a marketing lens. You'll Google in the earnings call scripts, you'll use ChatGPT and you'll find out what is the marketing priorities of the organization. And then you will craft a question around those priorities. So instead of going, what are the 3 main marketing priorities at your organization? Instead, you go, to better understand the business priorities of Erie and how we can use technology as a core differentiator. I took some time to review the last 3 or 4 earnings calls, and what resonated with me personally, Steve, were these 3 key ideas. I have no idea what the guy's name is, Steve, but key idea number 1 is the technology modernization and migrating to cloud. This is an actual question that Saurav used in the interview process. B is enhancing customer experience and accelerating claims processes by unlocking new features like allow agents to set up car rentals. And the third thing that I gathered was using AI for personalized policy recommendations or offering targeted customer retention strategies. I'd love to hear from all of you, though, what you feel about what I gathered from my approach and if there's anything else you'd change. Boom, winner question. This is my favorite question because it shocks the living craziness out of interviewers. They literally get this question, they go like, they look at each other and go like, you always get a smirk all the time. They go like, they do something like this, or they smile in their mind like, wow, this person's really prepared for this interview, and it doesn't matter what the answer. Let me remind you, team, it does not matter what the interviewer answers. The only purpose of Q&A, in my opinion, and I'm sticking to it, is to impress the interviewer. Just ask the question, you've already impressed them. That's all that matters. It's all about getting the offer. That's really the key. A lot of my execs, they have the wrong mindset around this. They go, oh, Brent, the reason I ask questions, I want to see if this is the right fit for me. I go like, yeah, do that after you get the offer. Don't do that right now. Right now, you're still in contention. You're still in competition with the other candidates. So every moment, every opportunity that you open your mouth is an opportunity to impress. Every time you talk is an opportunity to impress. Absolutely. So so this is just an example, right, of how I did it. So you can just copy paste what I have here. And then I'll give 2 other examples. So these are not easy what I'm coaching you all to do. It's not like tell me about yourself where I can say like make a video, do this for 45 seconds, and then you're done. It's not the same thing. You have to do a little bit more homework, but I'll give you 2 other examples. Let's go to the podcast question next. This is one of my favorite questions. This question allows us to show the interviewer that you took the time to listen to the podcast of a relevant executive or organization who works there. And your podcast just shows interest in the role. So I'll give you an example. Let's use VaynerMedia because I just know Gary Vaynerchuk's brand really well. So I'll just use that as an example. So obviously VaynerMedia has their own podcast, right? Obviously Gary's big on social media. And a lot of the marketing people you're going to be interviewing with, the CMO of that organization, the SVP market of that organization, if you do your homework and you really study them, a lot of them have been interviewed already on podcasts, even if it was 5 years ago, especially if it's a big market cap organization. Like if it's like if it's a Fortune 500 company, the chances of them being interviewed is very, very high. You just got to look for it. So notice how I phrased this question. When preparing for this interview, I had a chance to listen to a podcast with James McLean. I'm censoring out the companies and the names in this case about his strategic security priorities during his tenure at Norton, and he talked about his work on aligning process security with the SEC ruling, as well as future technology ideas, such as potential automation to help with incident disclosures. Matt, how do you think about the communication challenge between yourself, the CTO, and the CISO to continue that alignment process? So you're communicating indirectly that you've done your homework. Another example for marketers could be, when preparing this intro, I had a chance to listen to the podcast of James McLean, the CMO of McCain Foods, about his strategic vision around his marketing strategy. And I realized a few things in that conversation. I'd love to ask you one of those questions right now. Wow. Now you're really impressing executives. Wow, this person took 60 minutes to watch this interview. Very impressed. That's an example of the podcast question. But the key is really don't overthink this. Just take more risk is really the point. And then the third one, which is an easy one that I can do a quick example on for the team, for those of you who want me to, depending on what the flavor is. Thanks, Ronnie. Is the LinkedIn question. This question just shows that you've done your homework, you've studied their LinkedIn profile. Hey, Jim, I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you've worked for many great organizations like Technique Plus, Dover Corp, and Coca-Cola. I'd love to know what have been the key differences in the engineering cultures or marketing cultures, agency cultures between your current role at Walmart and your past roles. So let's say somebody's working as an account manager at McCann and they used to work at Vayner and Ogilvy and Matter. So you could say like, I noticed, Julia, in your profile that you're currently working at McCann, of course, but in your past you worked at Vayner as well as Ogilvy. I would love to hear more about what have been the differences in the agency cultures and the clients that you've worked with in your past agency roles versus your current one. What have been some of the differences? Ooh, you've really done your homework. Wow, you've really studied me. That's the key. So I'll just mention this in case somebody has one. Does anyone have an active interview right now that you can share a hiring manager's LinkedIn profile in the chat for? So if you want, once again, I'm just throwing it out there. If there's even one person on this call today, I'd typically just give this as a freebie. If anyone wants to pop in a hiring manager that they're talking to this week or next week, I'll just give 60 seconds in case anybody wants to do that. And I could just workshop with you right now. Literally just workshop with you right now and just use that as an example. So I'll just give 30 seconds for somebody to quickly copy paste a hiring manager's LinkedIn or a VP you're interviewing with. And I'll literally just look at the LinkedIn profile and I'll tell you what I'm noticing. And then we can craft questions right now. If not, I will skip this. 20 seconds left, team. Last chance. You get free coaching from me. I love it. Let's get for guides for everybody. So let me just pull this up. All right. So let's all open. Please do not send a connection request to this person, guys, okay? Just want to make sure that's clear. Just don't do that. So I really appreciate Gayatri using us as an example here. Okay. So all of you just open it. I'll keep it on my second screen. So those of you could just click the link and open it. So this guy's he's working in marketing at Coinbase. Okay. So let's look at this role right. And by the way, congrats on you being in at Coinbase. That's awesome, Gayatri. Really cool. Okay, he's in SF. Okay, he's passionate about forging connections, thriving on connecting pieces. I love it. Brazilian background, international marketing. Very good. I'm just going to look at his posts and then I'll give you some question ideas that are coming to mind. Okay, perfect. So 2 questions for him, Gayatri, that you can just use. Just use it, by the way. I'm not intriguing against you. So one is I noticed that he posted an article 3 weeks ago about Coinbase getting approval to launch in Argentina. So the question would sound something like this. It's funny. I live on Gregoire Street at home. So it's really funny that his name is like the name of my street. Really random. So I would have said, Gregoire, yeah, absolutely. I had a few questions for you. The first thing I'd love to start with is congratulations on getting the recent approval for Coinbase to move into Argentina. I think that's a really exciting time to be at Coinbase. And yeah, I agree. 5 million Argentines do use crypto daily. And 87% of them can boost financial independence using crypto. I think it's a really exciting time for the firm to be there. And my question for you around this is I'd love to hear more from your perspective. I'm sure Coinbase has been preparing for a long time impending this approval on how to market to Argentinians because, of course, there's many other, and I would do homework on this guy that I'm telling you to do right now because I don't know, right? What are the Argentinian crypto exchanges that are already in? So I would say, like, I'll just mention random names now. Like, of course, Binance got that approval last year and things like. How are you thinking about marketing from the perspective of both getting new people who are not using crypto exchanges right now versus attracting people who are already a part of exchanges to move into Coinbase? Really curious. I had a couple of ideas myself, but I'd love to hear from you, Gregoire. Now you're asking a really powerful question. You've showed your homework, you've done your research, and you're asking, and you're even indirectly communicating you have ideas. So sometimes Gregoire could be like, oh, you had ideas? What are you thinking? That can happen a lot of interviews because you added that. So that's one example. Another example is I noticed Gregoire has been working at Google for the past decade. So I would ask him, I noticed Gregoire when studying your LinkedIn profile that you worked at Google for almost a decade. So I'd love to hear more about what inspired you to move out of Google to work for Coinbase. Especially 3 years ago during a time when crypto is really tumultuous. Of course, now with the change in the US administration, with Trump coming to office, crypto has become a lot more. The reason I can answer so well, guys, I just know crypto. I just know the industry. But like, so you can just copy what I'm saying or make it your own. Of course, 3 years ago, Coinbase was in a tumultuous position, and yet you joined the organization knowing that, and that takes a lot of courage. And I'd love to hear more about that decision. That's going to really impress it. Wow, this person really understands the state of the market, and they're going to be really happy to talk about that. That's what I would do. Because I have a second LinkedIn profile, I want all of you to open Gabrielli's. And once again, team, don't be sending connection requests to these people. Okay, we're using them as examples today. Okay, let Gayatri get the job. Let Suhan get the job. Okay, be a team player. All right, let's go to Gabrielli here, digital marketing manager at HRPA, Human Resource Professional Association. Really interesting agency, and now she's working with association work. So my question for Gabrielle, because she doesn't post a lot, I've noticed, in addition to working at HRPA, I have some suggested solutions, but can that backfire if not? See, Gayatri, for me, the mindset is always you got to be willing to take risk. So notice how my frame of the question is not, let me give you some ideas right now. That's not the frame of my question, right? The frame of my question is, I'd love to hear from you, but I had some ideas too. That's it. So you're inviting them to ask you about it if they want to. But if they just jump right into them telling you what their ideas are, then you don't share your ideas. You switch into asking them more questions about what they just gave you. That's super advanced what I just told you, but that's really the idea. So for Gabrielle, the philosophy would be, what I really find interesting about your career, Gabrielle, is you've really tried different components of marketing and community management. You worked in a big Fortune 500 brand like P&G, then you tried your hand in the agency model, but then you spent the next decade of your career working in associations. I'd love to hear more about what have been some of the key differences working in marketing across a multitude of these different industries, and what ultimately inspired you to stay in associations over the last decade of your career. Boom, killer question, and it'll make her jaw drop. Hope that was useful too. All right, let's go ahead and summarize. What did we learn today in today's workshop? By the way, I just want to give all of you a big round of applause for playing so full out. Go ahead and take your hand all the way up to the sky, team. All the way up to the sky, all the way up. I don't see your screens, but I want all you put your hand up and just give yourself a nice pat on the back for a job well done. So go ahead and recap today's session. What did we learn in section number 1? The random word exercise. The random word exercise. Pick a word like potato, like chicken, like a battery box, and create random presentations because it helps you flow better in your subject matter expertise, which is marketing for you. Number 2, we learned my proprietary framework on how to master Tell Me About Yourself in any job situations. 1-3-1. Etch that into your memory, rewatch the recording, redo videos of yourself, keep practicing. And I guarantee, like today, you've already seen improvements in your random word exercises and your Tell Me About Yourself. I want you to keep that journey alive. Keep practicing it with people in the CMA community and take your game to the next level. And finally, number 3, we learned about asking strategic questions, Cornelius. Absolutely. Strategically, I call myself the interview sniper level questions that really get people to go like, whoa, this person's done their homework, man. And especially with a company like Coinbase, guys, there's so much room to play. You can go to Brian Armstrong's CEO podcast. You can listen to the CMO of Coinbase, bring that up in a question. There's so many, because it's such a sexy brand, right? Coinbase is a lot to work with. HRPA, a little bit less because they're an association, but there's still a lot to work with. You just got to find it. But just ask better questions is really the point I want to drive. Put more effort in the questions you're asking. And I believe if you implement these 3 things, you could be much better at speaking. And that's really the message I want to leave all of you with, is what else is possible through communication skills. You got this so much better in 90 minutes. What if you committed 10 minutes a day for the rest of the year to work on your communication skills? I can imagine you can go to being a more confident speaker. In the same way, I was really nervous. I hated communication, but I still became the superhero I am today in speaking. And I believe that if you apply some of the same principles today, you will learn the same thing that I've learned in my decade-long career, which is public speaking is a learned skill. You aren't born with it. There's a framework, there's a template. As long as you surrender to that process and you apply it, I believe you'll be better off. CMA community, it's been such a pleasure getting to know all of you today. Great job playing full out. These are my social medias. If you'd like to keep in touch with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, I see a lot of you already connected with me already, so I'll send you also messages to say hi. But it's been such a treat. Thanks so much, Nurani and the team, for having me. And I'd love to spend the last 5 minutes answering any questions that you might have. Thanks a lot, Tim. All right. Let's go ahead and see if there's any questions. 5 minutes on the clock. Go ahead and type your questions in right now if you have any. And I'll be glad to answer them. If not, we could call it a day and I'll save you 5 minutes. Going once. Going twice. I'd love it, Kristen. There you go. I love it, Ramon. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Any questions, advice when meeting other team members within or outside the hiring manager's team or upper management? Let me think about that question. Any advice? Normally I'd have you unmic, but this is webinar format. Let me think. Any question, advice? How can I access the earnings call of a company? Gayatri, easy question, easy answer. ChatGPT, just ask. Ask ChatGPT, ask Google. It's very simple. You just type the company's name. So let's say we did that right now, or there are some questions in the Q&A section. Do you mind helping me access that, Nurani? I don't really see. Oh, maybe, no, I actually don't see.
I'll
Yeah,
DM
can you?
it to you.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
No.
Thanks for that. All right, so accessing the earnings call, just type company name earnings call, you'll find them. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. Do a little bit of digging. Any questions and advice when meeting other team members within or outside the hiring manager? I would say just apply the same philosophy. Honestly, Christine, there's not that much difference between the hiring manager and everyone else. You just obviously, if you only have time to prep one person, obviously you prep for the hiring manager because they have the ultimate key on whether or not you get the job, but that's the idea. I think there's some question. Any thoughts on what to ask if a company is not public? Yeah, great question, Leslie. It would really be what I focused on right now. The LinkedIn question is really good. Some private companies, they'll still interview the executives, and it doesn't have to be a marketing executive, Leslie. It could be the CEO of the company too, if it's a small cap or medium cap organization. That's totally fine too. Can you leverage various work experiences and tell me about yourself, like multiple companies you worked at? You can. There's no wrong way to answer this, but really my focus, let me keep it simple for marketers. If you're applying for an agency role, I would actually really show the breadth of my brand portfolio, because that's what agencies find sexy, right? They'll go like, oh, okay, this person's already worked in airlines. I can totally place Nurani on American Airlines tomorrow. That's just how they think, right? But if you're going into a deep, like, I'm just doing marketing for P&G, I would really go industry deep on one or two things that are relevant to the industry if you have it. If not, I would sell depth versus width. Whereas agency, I would probably go with and tell me about yourself, and then have them ask, hey, tell me more about Pepsi, and then you could go in depth in the interview. Going for an internal role, the same strategies apply, but anything different you do for an internal role? Great question, Lakshman. Internal role, I'm not very good at internal roles, to be honest. Tell me about yourself is the same thing. A lot of internal roles, it's a different game. It's more about, and you know this, right, Lakshman, I'm not telling you anything new. That's a lot more about building case studies and really pushing above your weight, having coffee conversation, building a case for you across the C-level so that you win. That's really the game. So yes, a lot of my stuff doesn't perfectly apply, but really my advice, which I know is counterintuitive, especially at the executive level, is even if you're up for promotion internally, I still want you to apply externally. I know it sounds counterintuitive. You don't want to hear that, because applying externally will make you better internally. I see too many executives putting all their eggs into one company, and I think that's a really bad approach, especially if your goal is to be a CMO one day. If you're playing in one company, there's only going to be one CMO at Coinbase, not 10, right? And there's even 17 people gunning for that job. So you really need to get into the habit of applying externally. So I know it doesn't directly answer your question, but that's what I'm feeling right now. So I'll just share that with you. To clarify, they aren't the hiring managers. So does this change the framework of the question? No, it doesn't, Christine. It really doesn't. If you're interviewing for a VP, it's the same thing. If you're interviewing for C-level, it's the same thing. If you're interviewing for a director, it's the same thing. Any advice for a newcomer starting their job search afresh? How do you get noticed and get more interest? Here's the good news to this question. What I'm teaching you right now applies across all levels in an organization. And nobody does this at the entry level. People don't even do this at the executive level. I know I look like a young face, but trust me, team, I've placed many CMOs and CEOs in my career. I am telling you, nobody does this at the executive level. I have enough data to show for it. So what I'm saying, which is the good news, even if you do 1% of what I coached you on to do today, you will 100% stand on the job interview process, especially our younger generation where a lot of them can't even communicate out of a box, frankly. If you just have a little, hey, I'm applying for this entry-level marketing role. I saw this article I had a question about. People are going to be dazzled by you. They're going to say, oh my God, this woman, this guy is amazing. They're going to hire you on the spot for an entry-level role. So absolutely do that. Biggest way, still hate that one. Yeah, I think you're asking a question, Jamie, on biggest weakness before we jump today. Is how do you answer the biggest weakness question? Honestly, it's a lose-lose. You can never win that question. So I always get clients to pick a characteristic of their life that is not related to their job. So perfectionism could be one. I know it's a cliche, but you can't win that question, or just something that has nothing to do with the job. All right, team, that is my time and that is my Q&A period. If you have any other questions, please don't be shy to DM me directly on LinkedIn. I'll try and get to as many of your messages as possible today before I jump to my next call. And if you have any questions or feedback for me, don't be shy to let me know. It's such a treat. Thanks so much, Nurani and the team for making this happen, and looking forward to keeping in touch with all of you. Have an incredible day and wishing you all the best. Thanks a lot.